Hi, this is Rob Basham. I'm with Raj, and I work on Spectrum Scale Transparent Cloud Tiering. We're going to show you today how to connect Spectrum Scale Transparent Cloud Tiering to IBM Cloud Object Storage on-prem, although much of what we show here would apply to off-prem IBM Cloud Storage as well. So what we have here, and what you see on your screen, is the cluster that we have set up for this demo. So you can see here it's a 3-node cluster, and relatively small, but certainly adequate for what we want to show today. So the version on this is what, Raj? Is this 5.0.1?
It's 5.0.2.
Okay. So we're doing this on a version that isn't quite released yet, but what we are showing here would certainly work with 5.0.1 and 5.0 for that matter, Spectrum Scale 5.0. This video would not work with Spectrum Scale 4.2.x or earlier. Okay, so with that, you can see here we've got in addition to having the GPFS cluster, you can see here with the service status command that we've got a couple nodes configured for transparent cloud tiering. And you can see here on this that the service has been started. But if you see here, while the service has been started, you can see there aren't any accounts, there aren't any containers, nothing's been configured. So the point is, this video is not going to help you with your install. Our assumption is that you've installed and you've already set up a node class and set up, an installed transparent cloud tiering. That would be, a different activity. But once you have all that set up, then this is how you configure transparent cloud tiering. So the other thing I wanted to show you before we get going, as a basis is obviously you need to have IBM Cloud Object Storage, and you need to be, have a network connection to that IBM Cloud Object Storage. Here is the IBM Cloud Object Storage setup. We have a cloud account here, and so you'll need your cloud account, and you're also going to need to be able to set up your templates a specific way, and so we're going to show you those templates. So Raj is navigating. Note how he's navigating, in the GUI to this, through the system storage pools, my storage pool, and then underneath that, over here on the right, are the Vault templates. And what you see here is there's a data template and a metadata template. Yeah, and if you pop that open, what you'll see here is you'll see that one of the key things that is here is that the indexing has been enabled, right? And then on this template, on the data template, on the other template, the metadata template, the name indexing is also enabled here. So just kind of a note on the name index here. For the data template, you don't need to have the name index enabled. As a matter of fact, we recommend that you work with it disabled because you'll get a little better performance. But for purposes of the demo, so that you can see the files, we have enabled the name index, and that's why it's enabled. It's just to make this demo, more useful to you. But just when you do set it up actually in person, or actually do it for production, we would recommend you consider having the name index disabled here. Okay, thanks. So Raj, I think with that, is there anything else you'd like to point out here? I think we pointed out everything. Maybe we go start our configuration, huh?
Yes, sir. So I have list of commands to configure account. So the first command that I'm running is create account command, which does account creation, which holds the credentials of CleverSafe.
Yeah, you want to maybe take us through the parameters here in this command?
Yeah. So the first parameter that it takes is cloud node class, which points to the TCT servers that we are enabling for transparent cloud peering. And second is account name, which is a user-defined name. It can be anything, and it has some constraints like it should not be alphanumeric. It should not have special characters in it. So that's very simple. And the third type is cloud type, where we currently support 4 types of clouds. So we have 4 options here. Now I have chosen CleverSafe New as we are configuring CleverSafe Cloud Storage. And the username is called as access key on the other side, I mean on the cloud side. Here we call it as username, and the password is the secret key, which I have placed it in this file.
Right. So, Raj, just kind of for clarity here, you got the account or the node class name that came from the prior command you did when you did the MMLS node class, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have configured 2 servers of my GPFS cluster as one node class.
Okay, so that's where the TCT parameter came from, and then the account name. When you that's just not really any related to anything else. You just chose that name, right? It was a name that made sense to you, right? So it doesn't have to match with anything else. Okay, and then the next type, CleverSafe New. That's what you use when you're connecting to Cloud Object Storage. And then could you go back to the GUI and point out this username field, the 68T9, where you got that in the GUI?
Yeah. Here is
right.
Access.
You know, and obviously, since this is one of our live accounts, we're not going to show you our secret access key, but you can see there that this is where you'd get your secret access key is right next to the access key ID. So the access key ID is the field that goes in that other one, the 68T9 parameter, and then you can see there you get your secret access key and you put it in the file. Okay, yeah, go ahead. If you go back to the screen. So I think that shows you how to set up the account create command. Great, Raj, let's go to the next command.
Yeah. So this command is will create a cloud storage access point where we provide actually the URL of accessor node.
Yeah, this cloud storage access point, just to explain it, it connects you to your cloud account on CleverSafe or IBM Cloud Object Storage through your accessor. So let's say, for example, that you have, 2 accessors at your, for example, you had 2 accessors on your IBM Cloud Object Storage that you were trying to connect. You would want to set up 2 of these CSAPs, we call them CSAPs, right? And so what we would do is we would go in here to your accessor, and then from this accessor, there's your IP address right there. Now, in this particular IBM Cloud Object Storage, there's only one accessor, but we recommend for a high availability that you have, at least two accessors so that you have no single point of failure. Either that or you'll need a load balancer, right? But so here with this cloud storage access point, this gives you the connection to that accessor. Now, Raj, take us through these parameters, please.
Yeah. So the first parameter, as usual, I said it's cloud node class, which holds the servers for which we are configuring TCT. And the next is a user-defined name, which we generally give. It's up to the user, but the same constraint which we had for cloud account name, the same constraint holds here too, that we don't give special characters in the cloud access point name. And the third thing is important, where we are pointing to the account that we have created in our previous command. So this account name should be matched with the account name which we have created in the first command. And then goes URL, which points to the accessor node. And there are other options like region. Region is something in CleverSafe we call it as provision code. I can show you that. So when we create a wall template, we have something called provision code. So this has to be provided there in case we are planning for multiple regions.
Oh, so what you're saying is that a pool can be spread across multiple provisioning codes so that you have multiple regions.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have some other options like MPU part size and proxy IP, proxy port, server set path for SSL communications and all. So MPU part size is basically the number of slice size which we migrate in one go.
Yeah, the default on the MPU part size is 128 megabytes, and generally you would not want to change that. The proxy IP is just something that you need if your network folks set up a proxy. Talk to your network admin, about that, and, they can help you understand if you have a proxy IP and port you're going to need to deal with in talking to your CleverSafe. But that's really typically, your network and security guys are going to be able to help you with that. What about the server cert path? When would you use that, Raj?
In case of secured connection, we use a certificate file. We pass the certificate file here so that we establish a SSL secured connection with the cloud storage, like HTTPS.
Right. And is there anything you'd have to do over on your object storage side to use that, or that not really? That's more SSL related, right?
Yeah, it's SSL related. We get a certificate file from the object storage side, and then we pass that file here.
Right. Again, it's an SSL thing. All right. So I think that we've covered here the cloud storage access point create. In general, unless you have a complicated setup, this initial command should get you going here as the default one that Raj showed you. Yeah, okay, let's go ahead and jump to the next step. So just while Raj is doing this command, let's talk about this cloud service command. What is it? What are we creating here? What we've done so far is we've created a cloud account, which kind of tells Transparent Cloud Tiering how to access an account in the cloud, and then it's shown it its paths through the CSAPs, or Cloud Storage Access Points. But now we actually need to do something. So, you know, if you're actually going to want to do a command, you have to have a cloud service created in order to do that. Raj, go ahead and explain what you've done here.
Yeah. The first option is, as I explained, it's Cloud Node class. And the second option is Cloud Service Name. Again, it's a user-defined name. The third option is very important here. TCT provides two types of service. One is tiering and one is the other is sharing. So we have chosen tiering here, and the third is account name, which should be same as the first command which we have done.
Right. So what we've done here then is you now have a service that if you want to do tiering out to this particular cloud account, this CleverSafe, this is the service you'll use to make that tiering happen. So if you're doing a migrate command or whatever, you would invoke this service. But we're not done yet. While we do have, you know, all this connections in place, we don't really have, you know, anything out on the cloud to actually send this data to. We need to, you know, create the container, or, you know, as they call it in IBM Cloud Object Storage, the vaults, right, where you do this work, and that's the next step we do. And so you can see here, this is a container pair set create. Well, why is it a container pair set? Why do we call it that? It's because we actually create two containers. One container is for all the file system stuff, the file system data and metadata, and then there's a metadata container where we keep our Transparent Cloud Tiering metadata associated with this service. So what you'll see out in the cloud, if you go out and look at it, is after this command, we will go out and we'll create a couple of containers, and we'll show you that. We'll go out to Object Storage, and you can see the containers we've created that will actually be used to, you know, allow for this work to happen. Yeah, Raj, take us through this command here and these parameters you've just, for the command you've just set up. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. The first option, it's Cloud Node class. I think I don't need to explain it again. The second option is Cloud Container Pair Set Name, which a user-defined name, and it should be unique across the cloud provider we use. In this, I have used something which suits the context, and the third is Cloud Service Name. This should be the same name which we have given while creating cloud service. And the fourth option here I gave is path, which is actually a GPFS file system path. So whatever the files that we create or that are available under this path can be migrated to the container pair which we have created. Here the next option is scope to file system, where we can configure a file set to enable migrations to a cloud storage. And the last two options here are data location and meta location. With CleverSafe, we give the vault template name. So as I've shown initially, the vault template name it's actually the provision code which we have, which we give under vault template. So that data
Right. So you take the provisioning code out of the vault template, and that's what you use here.
Yeah.
Okay. So just kind of looking at this, a couple things here pointing out is, scoping to the file system is fine if you have a smaller file system. But if you have a bigger file system, it's probably best to have multiple file sets and scope to file set to keep your service from getting too massive, right? If you have billions of files or even hundreds of millions of files that you're wanting to transfer out, it's better to have a little bit of granularity, a little bit of control over better control over your service and over your policy size, the scope of your policies that are running. Because, it's not really truly linear when you're running these policies on GPFS. As the file size grows, the work of managing the ILM policies is larger than it's the time that's taken is a little bit more than linear. It's not horrible, but it's just better to keep it from getting too big. The other thing is that it's clumsy managing such a big service in some ways. So if you do plan on growing large, it's probably best to scope the file set if you can. All right. So, and some of these other parameters that are interesting here. Why don't we go through some of the other parameters and talk about them, Raj?
Yeah. So we have a parameter called ENC where we can create a key manager and then enable encryption over our connection. So files that get migrated from local file system or file set to the cloud will be encrypted.
Yeah, so in general, by default, encryption is enabled, right?
No, by default, it's not enabled. We need to pass this parameter. Yeah, here I'm showing container pair list command, which actually shows all the details that we have passed through the command and the default values.
Yeah, go ahead and continue with the other parameters after encryption.
Yeah. So yeah, data location and meta location, I have already explained them about it. And key manager is we support two types of key managers. One is local key manager and one is remote key manager. We have a special CLI for that to create. Active key is a key which you pass after creating the key manager. So thumbnail size. We pass thumbnail size to
well, maybe we should talk a minute about what is the thumbnail for. So by default, what you're going to do with a file when you migrate it to the cloud is you're going to migrate it completely to the cloud. You're going to punch a hole in the file and leave the inode only so that there are 0 bytes of data, residual data, in the file system, and all that data resides out on the cloud, and the file is in a non-resident state. However, there are some applications, Windows Explorer being a notorious one, that require, but there are others like GNOME and Linux that actually go out and read the first few bytes of a file to create thumbnails. And that's actually why we call this the thumbnail parameter. Although, any program that reads the first few bytes of a file frequently, even cold files, such as Windows Explorer, this setting is to allow those applications to run without creating a recall storm. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to set up a thumbnail size to a certain size such that your applications, if they have some preview portion of the file that they invoke en masse would keep them from generating a recall storm. And so that this is why we have this thumbnail setting, and we have this thumbnail size that allows you to specify the size, that's appropriate for your application.
Yeah. The next option is transparent recalls by default, which remains enabled. So that's how TCT works, where the end user clicks on a file and in the background the file gets on-premise. That file will be available. So if
right,
this
with
is
transparent cloud tiering, that's the whole point of why we call it transparent is, right, if you have a file and it's been migrated to the cloud, you don't have to do anything special to get it recalled. If you click on a file, if you open a file up, in the background, the transparent cloud tiering will automatically get that for you if you have transparent recalls enabled, which it isn't by default. If you disable it, then obviously, you'll get a fail on that, and you'll have to migrate or recall that policy manually using the CLI.
The next option is destroy event handling. This is more of files which are deleted. When a file is deleted, we make an entry in the database that it's no more available on the file system. And once it reaches or it crosses the retention period, the file will be deleted from the Cloud Object Storage too. So so when this is enabled, you don't need to manually do any stuff. All the files that are deleted will be tracked in our database.
Right, and so destroy event handling, you typically want to leave that enabled. The only time you might want to disable that is if you're going to do like a massive delete, like hundreds of millions of files. Then it might make sense to disable it and run your destroys manually. But again, that would be exceptional circumstances. And something only for that narrow reason. So now, if you think about it, what do we have? We have a cloud account, right, that allows you to have an account in your object storage. You have a path to your accessors that's been specified through your cloud storage access points. You have a cloud service that specifies, hey, here's how you are going to provide a service to do something to that cloud account, and then you have containers to actually send the data to. So now we've kind of created all these different entities, and you're ready to go. And so at this point, this cloud service is something that is actually usable. We've done the configuration, and Raj is going to show you actually how this works. Just real quick, we'll demo that we did, in fact, get this set up and that it works. Go ahead, Raj.
Yeah, I'm just creating a sample file, and then I'm migrating it. Yeah. So the file got migrated, and you can check the status of the file. Yeah. So the use blocks turns out to be 0, and it's non-resident. That means it doesn't exist here anymore. And I will show you the file on the object storage. we have 2 containers that got created on the object storage, and here is the file. So I have used CyberDuck third-party tool to access to see all these container trees that we create on CleverSeed.
All right, and now we can recall the file.
Yeah.
No, you don't need to recall it manually, right? You can just touch the file. Will that do it?
Yeah. I'll update it. Some random content.
Or just read it. Yeah, echo it. Yeah, so, and now if you list the file back, if you list its status, you can see here it's now co-resident, which means the file is in the cloud and back on the file system, which is what happens if when we recall a file. We don't delete it from the cloud, we leave it there. All right, so this is how you configure your IBM Cloud Object Storage. We'll go ahead. Hey, Raj, would you mind cutting and pasting your sample commands for use right there in a comment underneath the YouTube video?
Yeah, sure, Rob.
Yeah, we'll do that. So you can just cut and paste and then, put in your own IP addresses and names and, use the commands right there. I hope you enjoyed this video. There will be more to come. We'll have a video on how to set up your policies, which you'll probably want to do your migration policies. And so we'll look at what I would call administration for this, where, you set up the policies, you set up, a little bit of your maintenance activities so that, everything is steady state and ready to go. Thanks.
Thank you.